Hey man, let's talk about something that most guys feel deep down but rarely admit out loud. It's uncomfortable, maybe even a little painful, but it's real. The truth is, the men who treat women the worst, those emotionally unavailable, hot and cold, distant types, somehow seem to get the girl more often and a whole lot faster. And when you're the guy who's been showing up with honesty, respect, kindness, and actual intentions, that stings. You look at the situation and think, this doesn't make sense. Isn't love supposed to reward effort, not games? But then you see her laughing with a guy who barely acknowledged her last week, a guy who won't even commit to dinner plans, let alone a relationship. Meanwhile, you're over here sending good morning texts, remembering little things she said, trying to build something real, and getting ghosted or friend-zoned for your trouble. And here's where it gets even more twisted. There's a psychological reason this keeps happening, and it has nothing to do with how good or bad a guy is. A well-known experiment uncovered the very pattern that explains it. And once you understand what's really going on, what human psychology is doing underneath the surface, you'll stop trying to win with logic and start working with how desire actually works. Because the hard truth is this: when it comes to romantic attraction, logic gets left behind. Emotion, unpredictability, and psychological wiring take the wheel. It's not about being toxic. It's about recognizing that human attraction doesn't follow the rules we were told. It's not always fair. It's not always nice, but it's real. And when you see it clearly, you stop playing the game to be liked and start playing it to be respected. In a revealing experiment, two groups of men were observed interacting with women in controlled social settings. One group was instructed to act kind, attentive, and complimentary, the classic ideal boyfriend behavior. The other group was told to be emotionally distant, flirtatious, but inconsistent, and somewhat self-focused. Surprisingly, the women were far more drawn to the second group, the so-called F-boys. These men, who offered the least emotional stability and reliability, sparked the most interest. They were described as mysterious, intriguing, and downright irresistible. So why does this happen? It's not because women are attracted to toxicity or mistreatment. Instead, it has everything to do with how female psychology responds to emotional stimulation. Attraction is less about comfort and more about emotional intensity. Unpredictability and contrast create powerful emotional spikes that grab attention and spark obsession much faster than steady, predictable kindness ever could. This phenomenon is rooted in a psychological concept called intermittent reinforcement, a principle often used to explain gambling addiction, and it applies directly to dating dynamics. When a woman can't quite figure out how you feel, when your behavior shifts unpredictably between warmth and distance, her brain releases a surge of dopamine. This chemical response is stronger than what happens in consistent, predictable interactions. The uncertainty itself becomes addictive. You, in this scenario, are like a slot machine that she keeps pulling the handle of, hoping for that next hit of validation. And when you finally give her a glimpse of attention or affection, the rush she experiences is euphoric and deeply compelling. That's why women often find themselves chasing men who confuse them. It's not about loving the chaos or drama. It's about their brain chemistry being hijacked by the emotional roller coaster you create. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about telling you to turn into a manipulative, cold-hearted player. That's not the message here. What I'm getting at is something more subtle and powerful. Women don't fall in love simply because things are easy or comfortable. Attraction doesn't grow from predictability or constant reassurance. Instead, it's built on contrast, tension, and emotional unpredictability, the kind of emotional highs and lows that keep someone intrigued and wanting more. Think about it. The calm, stoic man who rarely opens up, but when he does reveals a raw, honest vulnerability, becomes 10 times more magnetic than the guy who dumps his entire heart on the table within days. One creates an aura of mystery and leaves space for curiosity. The other piles on pressure and demands attention before the connection has had time to breathe. And pressure is the ultimate attraction killer, far worse than silence or distance ever could be. This idea isn't just theory, In that same experiment, women were shown photos of men described either as obviously interested or uncertain in their feelings. The women repeatedly rated the uncertain men as more attractive. Why does this happen? Because uncertainty fuels imagination, and imagination is where seduction takes root. When a woman doesn't have a clear picture of how a man feels, her mind starts filling in the blanks, crafting stories and possibilities that often become far more compelling than any straightforward reality. Quick break. Close your eyes for a second. Picture her, the girl you've always wanted. Feel what it would be like to actually have her. Now open your eyes, because here's the truth. Right now, you're invisible to her. You're getting outcompeted by guys with more money, better looks, higher status, and stronger game. You're playing a rigged game, and you're losing. But I've spent the last 35 years mastering this, studying, testing, and finally finding the secrets to get the girls I always wanted. You want to stop getting ignored? You want her chasing you? Then you need to wake up and act. Click the link in the comments if you are truly committed and take the first step toward becoming that guy. Few spots left. Be fast or miss out your last chance to make her yours. Let's get back to it. So, what exactly do F-boys do differently that keeps women drawn to them, even when logic says they shouldn't be the obvious choice? First off, they don't put women on pedestals. They don't chase relentlessly or flood someone with texts and calls, trying to prove their worth. They don't overshare every detail of their lives or emotions in the early stages. Instead, they maintain their focus on their own priorities, their fitness, their career, their social circles, and their personal growth. They live full, rich lives that don't depend on a woman's approval or attention. This self-prioritization isn't just attractive, it's extremely rare in a world full of needy, overly eager guys. And as we all know, rarity creates value, and value ignites desire. Even when their personalities might be flawed, or their behavior less than ideal, their confident frame broadcasts high status. Women, whether consciously or not, are instinctively pulled toward that kind of independence and emotional self-sufficiency. It signals strength, security, and the ability to provide an exciting and unpredictable energy, qualities that spark attraction on a deep primal level. Contrast this with the modern nice guy, who believes that by investing time, effort, and attention, he'll eventually win her heart. He thinks the more he shows he cares, the more she'll reciprocate. But in reality, what he often does is overwhelm her nervous system with his constant presence and availability. He removes the mystery and unpredictability, becoming predictable and, worse, desperate. And nothing kills feminine desire faster than a man who puts her needs, validation, and feelings above his own sense of self. Desire isn't born from being constantly available. It thrives on intrigue and emotional tension. The harsh truth is, she doesn't want your world to revolve entirely around her. What she really wants is to be invited into a life that's already full, spinning, and moving forward, whether she's part of it or not. That kind of man exudes a magnetic energy, calm, composed, self-assured, that makes her want to lean in, to explore, and to chase. It's this balance of emotional independence and subtle availability that keeps attraction alive. Here's another unexpected twist from the experiment. Many of the women didn't even realize what was happening beneath the surface during their interactions. When asked to describe their experiences afterward, the men labeled as bad boys were often described as confusing, exciting, mysterious, and hard to read, but undeniably intriguing and magnetic. Meanwhile, the good guys came off as sweet, dependable, and consistent, yet also somewhat boring and predictable. Pause and consider that for a moment. The very traits that society teaches us to value, loyalty, stability, consistency, can, without the presence of polarity and emotional tension, actually drain attraction. Comfort without any spark or unpredictability starts to feel more like friendship than romance. And the raw truth? Women don't usually sleep with their friends. They crave connection with the men who shake things up, challenge their expectations, and keep them guessing. This doesn't mean that being toxic or disrespectful is the winning formula. Far from it. What truly wins attraction over the long haul is emotional control, the ability to create tension without chaos, to know when to step back and when to lean in, to maintain a level of mystery, and to avoid handing out validation like candy on Halloween. That balance between presence and absence, between availability and independence, is what fuels sustained interest and desire. The fascinating part is that F-boys don't consciously apply some textbook strategy or study psychology. They simply embody this dynamic by default. But here's the important takeaway. You can learn to cultivate the same effect intentionally by mastering the subtle dance of attraction. It requires detachment from the outcome, a clear understanding of your own value, and a strong grounded sense of your masculine identity. This is not about manipulation or playing games. It's about emotional intelligence, awareness, and owning your power. If you've ever found yourself wondering why ghosting, just disappearing without a word, sometimes pulls her back in faster than a heartfelt apology or a vulnerable message, here's the truth. It's not because she's broken or playing mind games. It's because silence creates something powerful, possibility. That silence plants seeds of doubt and curiosity in her mind. Did he lose interest? Is he seeing someone else? Did I do something wrong? These questions spiral into endless mental loops, keeping you front and center in her thoughts long after you've gone quiet. This effect is no accident. It's a well-documented psychological phenomenon called the Zeigarnik effect, where unfinished or interrupted interactions demand more mental energy and attention than resolved ones. F-boys tap into this without even realizing it, which is why they often find themselves chased more than cherished. The uncertainty they radiate keeps women guessing, and in guessing lies the spark of obsession. There's an inherent danger in giving away too much too soon, especially certainty. When a man lays all his cards on the table before she's even earned the right to see them, the chase evaporates instantly, and with the chase gone, the thrill, the adrenaline rush of desire, fades away just as quickly. That's why these so-called bad boys rarely share their full thoughts, feelings, or intentions up front. They hold back, creating a magnetic mystery that women can't resist. The less she knows about you, the more she wants to find out. That unknown, unexplored territory becomes a playground for her imagination, where obsession grows and desire intensifies. It's the tension between what's revealed and what's hidden that fuels emotional investment. This isn't about manipulation or playing cruel games. It's about understanding the natural rhythms of attraction and desire. It's about creating space for curiosity to breathe and for tension to build, rather than suffocating it with constant reassurance or overexposure. When you master this balance, you don't just become unforgettable, you become irresistible. One key truth that often goes unnoticed is that these men never try too hard. In their effortless detachment, they project an energy of abundance, as if their lives are already full and they're not desperate for anyone's approval. Women instinctively sense when a man's self-worth is tied to their replies, compliments, or affection, and that neediness is a major turnoff. The man who can walk away without hesitation or desperation instantly sets the tone, becoming the chooser rather than the chosen, flipping the entire dynamic. Suddenly, she's the one performing, proving herself, and seducing him, turning passive attraction into active investment. These men don't overshare. They remain cryptic, mysterious, and unapologetically themselves, making every detail they reveal feel rare and earned. By contrast, giving too much too soon kills curiosity, which is the emotional currency in dating. Curiosity creates pull and tension. When she feels like she knows everything about you early on, her brain files you away as dissolved. But sensing there's more beneath the surface makes you unforgettable. What women truly crave isn't constant attention, but emotional impact, men whose presence disrupts their routine and triggers unexpected feelings. The man who walks into a room and shifts the energy, not by being loud, but by being composed, grounded, and in control, carries a magnetic emotional independence that draws women in. Interestingly, many F-boys aren't strikingly handsome, but possess extraordinary self-belief. They don't seek permission, fear rejection, or chase validation. They flirt because it's fun, not survival. Their detachment isn't a calculated tactic, but an intrinsic part of who they are, making them far more appealing than the guy who tries too hard to get it right. It's crucial to understand that being calm, distant, or detached doesn't mean being cold. It means being centered, composed, and unreactive, even when she tests you, flirts with others, or pulls away to see if you'll chase. This masculine calm makes her feel safe, not because it's uncaring, but because it signals emotional stability and independence. Most men are emotionally chaotic, overreacting, overthinking, and overcommitting too soon, but the man who remains steady, focused on self-improvement and purpose, is the one she thinks about late at night. This isn't arrogance, but masculine discipline, power expressed through presence rather than persuasion. To seduce like an F-boy without becoming one, master the art of silence and space. Learn to pause. Resist filling every moment with compliments or emotional fixes, and let tension build naturally. That space allows her imagination to do the heavy lifting, painting you as deep, complex, and worth pursuing. When she begins to pursue, you've won. The aware man doesn't chase emotions. He creates them. He doesn't ask for attention. He commands it. He doesn't beg for loyalty. He inspires it. F-boys stumble into this state through natural indifference, but you can cultivate it intentionally with mastery and control. This isn't about being fake. It's about being effective. So don't envy the F-boy. Learn from him. Understand the psychological blueprint beneath the chaos. Women, like men, crave emotional stimulation, but they respond to subtlety, depth, and contrast. You don't need to be toxic or careless. You need to be unpredictable, mysterious, confident, and calm. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. If this message spoke to you or gave you something to think about, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new drop. I've got more real talk, more growth, and more power coming your way, so stay locked in. And if you're going through something right now, just remember, your silence can say more than 1,000 words ever could. Take care of yourself, keep rising, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.